You know what's wild? The Blue Jays came into 2026 looking like absolute monsters. World Series appearance last year, Dylan Cease for $210 million, Cody Ponce locked in. This roster was built to dominate. And now, before a single regular season pitch has been thrown, we're already talking about rotation problems. That's the reality check nobody wanted this spring. Let me break this down for you because this situation is more serious than people are giving it credit for. Bowden Francis just had UCL surgery. Shane Bieber is dealing with a forearm issue. Two guys who were supposed to be depth pieces for this rotation. Gone, or at least unavailable right now. And when you start pulling threads on a rotation that looked deep on paper, you realize pretty quickly how thin things can get. This isn't panic territory yet, but it's absolutely the kind of situation where a smart front office starts making phone calls. Right now, the Blue Jays are rolling out Kevin Gausman, Dylan Cease, Trey Yesavage, Jose Barrios, and Cody Ponce as their primary five. On paper, that's still a legitimately good rotation. Gausman is one of the most consistent starters in the American League. Cease just got paid $210 million, so you know what the expectations are there. Barrios has been reliable. Yesavage is young and exciting. And Ponce, while he's still proving himself, gives them another arm. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. What happens when one of those five goes down? What happens if Yesavage hits a wall as a younger pitcher? What's the actual contingency plan? Eric Lauer is technically in the mix as an extra option. But if you're a team with legitimate World Series ambitions, you don't want Eric Lauer being your safety net. That's not a knock on Lauer. It's just the reality of what it takes to win a championship. This is exactly why Zachary Reimer over at Bleacher Report is beating the drum for Sandy Alcantara. And honestly, he's not wrong. Think about what Sandy Alcantara actually is. This is a former Cy Young Award winner, a guy who, at his peak, was arguably the best pitcher in all of baseball. He won that award in 2022 with one of the most dominant seasons a pitcher has had in the modern era. The stuff has always been elite. The sinker, the changeup, the ability to eat innings at a level almost nobody else can match. Now, 2025 was rough for him. A 5.36 ERA is not what anyone wants to see, and you can't just wave that away. But here's what you can't ignore either. After the All-Star break last year, Alcantara posted a 3.33 ERA over 13 starts. 13 starts of legitimate quality pitching from a guy who had been written off by a lot of people. That's not a fluke. That's a guy finding himself again after coming back from Tommy John surgery. And that's the key context here. Alcantara missed essentially all of 2024 recovering from Tommy John. The 2025 season was his first full year back. The fact that he finished the second half of 2025 with a 3.33 ERA tells you the stuff is coming back. The arm is getting right. You're potentially buying low on a pitcher who has a Cy Young on his shelf and is trending in the right direction heading into 2026. The contract situation makes this even more interesting. He's owed $17.3 million this year, and the Marlins hold a $21 million club option for 2027. So this isn't a one-year rental situation. If the Blue Jays trade for Alcantara and he pitches the way he's capable of pitching, they could have him for 2 years. 2 years of a former Cy Young winner in the middle of their rotation. That's not depth. That's a genuine ace-level addition. And the Marlins? Miami has made it abundantly clear they're in full teardown mode. They've been shedding payroll and moving veterans for a while now. Alcantara is 29 years old, under contract, and on a team going absolutely nowhere. The Marlins have every incentive in the world to move him for a package of prospects and get something useful for the future. This is exactly the kind of deal that makes sense for both sides. From a Blue Jays perspective, the cost is going to be real. You don't get a pitcher of Alcantara's caliber without giving up legitimate pieces. Toronto has a farm system that has the ability to put together a competitive package, but it's going to require actually pulling the trigger and parting with some talent. That's always the uncomfortable part of these conversations. But here's the thing. The Blue Jays didn't sign Dylan Cease for $210 million and add Cody Ponce to be a good team. They did all of that to win a World Series. If that's genuinely the goal, then overpaying slightly in a trade to address a real vulnerability is completely justified. The AL East is not forgiving. The Yankees are always lurking. The Red Sox and Orioles and Rays are not going to just hand Toronto a division title. Every game matters, and every start matters. If you hit July and your rotation is held together with duct tape because of injuries, your window starts closing fast. The time to address rotation depth is right now in spring, before the season starts, not at the trade deadline when your leverage is gone and prices are through the roof. What makes this specific situation compelling is the timing. The Marlins are motivated to sell. Alcantara's value is somewhat suppressed because of last year's ERA, even though the second-half numbers tell a different story. The Blue Jays have a clear need and the financial willingness to absorb his contract. All of these things are aligned right now in a way that may not exist in 3 months. And look, let's be fair about the risks too. Tommy John recovery is never linear. A guy can look great in spring and then struggle once the grind of a full season hits. The 2025 numbers as a whole weren't good, and you have to wonder how much of that was the surgery recovery versus something more concerning with his stuff. These are legitimate questions, but when you weigh the downside against the potential upside of getting a healthy, fully recovered Sandy Alcantara who pitches like he did in the second half of 2025, the math still works in Toronto's favor. The Blue Jays front office has shown they're not afraid to make big moves. The Cease signing proved that. The question now is whether they're willing to add another layer to an already expensive roster in order to plug a hole that could genuinely cost them in October. Because that's what it comes down to. October. Spring injuries have a way of cascading into postseason problems if you don't address them early. Sandy Alcantara is the solution that makes the most sense right now. He's available. His team wants to move him. His price is manageable, and his upside, even accounting for the post-surgery question marks, is that of a legitimate number 2 or 3 starter on a contending team. In a rotation that already features Gausman and Cease at the top, a healthy Alcantara slotting in behind them makes this one of the most formidable pitching staffs in the entire American League. The Blue Jays need to make this call. The need is real, the opportunity is real, and the window to win a championship doesn't stay open forever. You make the move now, you protect your rotation, and you give yourself the best possible chance to finish what they started last October. That's what contenders do.